In our last tutorial, we discussed how to track down a scientific study after finding an article written about it in the popular media. Today we're going to talk about some tips and tricks on how to evaluate that scientific study without actually having to read it all the way through. So I'm going to start back here at the article that I found last week. This is the scientific study about new malaria vaccine. And I would start my overall evaluation of the article by reading the abstract. The abstract of the study is going to give me an overall idea of the problem that the research was trying to investigate, as well as the results that they discovered in the course of their work. When I'm reading an abstract like this one that's filled with terminology that I don't understand, I tend to approach it in kind of a three-step process. The first thing I would do is read the first couple of sentences here to try to get an understanding of the actual problem that they were trying to investigate. The next thing I would do is hop down to the end and read the concluding sentences to get an idea for what they actually discovered. After I do that, I go back and try to put them into my own words so I actually understand the problem and what was found. Only after I have an overall understanding of what's going on in this article would I go back in here and read the details about the methodology that was actually used. As you're reading the middle part of the abstract, don't get bogged down by terminology that you don't understand. Attempt for a kind of holistic reading where you're skipping words that you don't understand so that you can get an overall feel for this part of the abstract. After you do this kind of holistic reading, then you can go back and look up any words or terms that you don't know, like epitope for one is one that I might not know right off the top of my head. I can just go and pop that into Google, is what I would do, and get an idea for that overall definition. Once I have an understanding of the abstract here, my next step is to get a better understanding of the background of this whole problem. So I am not an expert on malaria or malaria vaccine, so I need to understand a little bit more about that before I can actually evaluate this article. Now, if I were to ask you where you go for background information, I'm guessing many of you would say Wikipedia. So as you know, Wikipedia is kind of a crowdsourced encyclopedia. It has articles on all different topics, but as you also know, it can be written by anybody. So that means our article on malaria vaccines could be written by an expert in the field, or it might have been written by someone like you or me. So when we're using Wikipedia, we really have to bring our critical evaluation skills to the table. It's not a source that you should use when you're writing an academic paper, but it is something that can give you an understanding in your daily life as a source of background information. So I'm just going to look here for malaria vaccine, and we'll see what we get in Wikipedia. So the first thing I do when I'm reading a Wikipedia article is take into account some of the cues that are given to me on this page. So my article on malaria vaccines, I'm looking at this box right in the center of the page. It's kind of like a warning sign. It says this article has multiple issues. It includes a list of references, which can be helpful to us, but its sources remain unclear because it doesn't have inline citations. That means in the course of the text here, things that should be cited don't have a citation here. So statements are made, but no citation is given for the source of that fact. That can be a problem if we're trying to use this as a source of reliable information. So we need to take that into account. The other thing that I usually do when I'm reading a Wikipedia article that you may or may not know is you can look at the history here of who has contributed to this article. So if I click the View History button there, I get this somewhat confusing screen that lists all of the changes that have been made to this article on malaria vaccines. Okay, it tells me about the changes here. They added references and more contents, but more importantly, it has a link to the person who is making the changes. Some of these people have created profiles here within Wikipedia, so I could read about this person, Gingermaine Kuhn, and see that, okay, she has a PhD in biochemistry and works in the biotech industry, so, okay, that's good that she's a scientist, but I don't know what her qualifications are necessarily for writing an article on a malaria vaccine. But at least it gives me a little bit more information about who is actually editing and authoring this article. After I kind of take into account these cues on the page about the credibility of the article, then I'll scan the contents and see if there's actually something that might be useful to me. So here I can see there's some considerations, potential targets for the vaccine, delivery system information, agents under development. So this looks like it might have something for me. So I could scan the article and read it, but what I really use Wikipedia for is kind of a pointer to further references. So let me scroll down here toward the references section. So these are the references that were used, maybe not used correctly with the lack of in citations up here in this article. Also, we have a bibliography, which is a list of other sources on this topic that may be useful. So if I'm looking here at this bibliography, there's kind of a book here written in 2004, so a while ago, but it does have a couple of general chapters that look like they may be interesting for background information on the disease and on some of the problems in developing a vaccine. There are also some press releases, which look handy because they have links there, but if I click on it, you'll see that they don't necessarily work. Also, a press release might not be the best source for background information. Most Wikipedia articles have external links, which can also be helpful, but again, you need to remember to take your critical evaluation skills with you when you're looking at these. There are many other resources that we can use for background information. Here on the library homepage, library.du.edu, I'm just going to point out a couple. We have Credo Reference down here in kind of this lower quadrant of the main screen. Now, Credo Reference, you may or may not know, is what the library calls the academic alternative to Wikipedia. It's like Wikipedia because it's an online encyclopedia. It's actually about 900 online encyclopedias that have been kind of put together in this interface. And these are encyclopedias that are written by experts. We don't necessarily have to worry about the credibility issues that we do with using Wikipedia. So this is a good resource for you in terms of reliability and credibility. So let's just compare the difference here. So if I search malaria vaccine here in Credo Reference, I'm going to get a list of articles that are coming from different encyclopedias. So you see here I have 170 results. This article on malaria is in the Encyclopedia of Epidemiology. This was in the Dictionary of Microbiology and Molecular Biology. I can get more information on the publication dates here of these sources. And also I can see what subjects they've been filed under. So I might want to look just at the articles that are in the medicine bucket of information. Let's just take a look here real quickly at this one. So look at the malaria article here in the Encyclopedia of Epidemiology. As I'm reading this, the language seems much more geared to me even than the language that was used in the Wikipedia article. It gives me a background on malaria, on the disease itself. Okay, there's some maybe nice graphics that could help me out here. And then as I scroll down, there's some more information, if I get down here, about, I'm not sure quite what this hippopotamus is doing. There's some more information down here about the actual disease and the effectiveness of some proposed vaccines. Also in the articles here in Credo Reference, you can see that there are references which have this article linker button, which you can use to link to the library resources for these articles. So this would be a good source of background information for you as well. Let's go back to the library homepage here, and we'll look at one more resource that you could use for background information. If you're researching a topic and just want an overview of it, often finding a book on that topic can be a good starting point. So when you're looking for books, I could look for malaria vaccine, but it sometimes helps to be broader in scope. Think about the actual organization of a book. It's usually a very broad topic with then chapters that focus in on what we're looking for. So just searching for malaria, I got quite a few results. I can limit that down by just looking at the ones that are really about malaria by clicking on this subject over here on the left. And here you can see I have some information on malaria, treatment and prevention of malaria, both of which could be interesting for me in my research. So what the first step that you would take when you're evaluating your scientific study is to kind of get an overall understanding of the topic. We do that by beginning to read the abstract. Then we look for sources for background information. either using Wikipedia with a critical eye and then mining it for references, or using some of the resources here on the library homepage, such as Credo Reference or the library catalog.